G'day, welcome back. I'd especially like to welcome my new subscribers, and I hope you enjoyed the content of my channel. If you missed the last video on making the hold down clamps for the rotary table, there's a link up there now. You can go watch that first and come back and watch this one. Now, around the time I started making that rotary table, which is now about 7 or 8 weeks ago, a very generous viewer from what I believe is the Longhorn state of Texas contact me and offer to stump up the cash to replace the motor on the lathe. He left it to me to go and find what I wanted to use, and said he would pay for it with some limits, of course. So it took a while, and like the camera, I had some dramas. The first motor I ordered didn't show up, and on the same day that the speed controller I ordered showed up, I got a message saying that the order had been cancelled, and when I had a look to see why, it had said that the product was no longer available, so they had to go and find another one. But anyway, so it is here now. It arrived a week or so ago. So follow me over to the lathe and we'll have a look at what I'm going to do with it. Over there. Alrighty, so this is the motor I bought. It's a 600 watt. Which is about around 3/4 of horsepower, I think. Bought a speed controller, and we'll be run through one of these to switch it back, because the motor is 220 volt DC, and obviously we're running 220 volts AC into this thing. So, but anyway, if you'd have watched the previous videos when I was trying to quieten this thing down, the current motor's down in here. And I'm going to leave it there. The only thing I'm going to do is remove this idler from in here and put that motor back in there. It'll fit in there. The speed controller, I'm going to either mount it up in here if I've got room, or over here in the door, because there's room there, I think. But it's got to, it's got to clear all the belt and everything when the door's closed. Now, to mount the motor, I have this great lump of angle iron, and I'm just going to cut a piece off that square and drill it. I might round the ends off. I might use a rotary table to round the ends off, and perhaps cut some slots in it to let some cooling air into it, and then it'll mount this way, and then I'll make some more bits to pivot it on down in here. But before I go chopping the lathe up and doing everything, I'm going to have to make a pulley for it, because the shaft on that motor is only 10 millimeters. The original motor I ordered that is no longer available had 12 mil shaft, which I would have preferred, but this one that's 15 mil, so I can't use that pulley. But anyway, so I'm going to cast up a pulley machine, pulley up with this before we go do anything else. So we'll get on with that. Alrighty, so while the plaster is drying on that foam, ready to cast that thing up tomorrow, we'll get in and drill some holes in this thing. While the rotary table's still on there, I had a look to see if I can get it in there to round this off, and this, by the time everything stacks up, it's all too high. So I'll have to just cut them off and do it on the belt sander or something, or leave it alone, one or the other. Now I'm going to find out just how good these DRRs are on here, because I've got some dimensions for the holes in this thing, and there's 4 holes and the centers are 73 millimeters. So on those lines there, at 73 millimeters apart that way, there'll have to be 2 holes and 2 holes. So I'm going to drill the centre one first, and then use that as my 0, and then come out, so it's 636.5 millimetres, and then go sideways 36.5, and then back that way again. And we'll see if we can get 4 holes in the right place using my DRAs only, and nothing else. As I said, I was just thinking something. It's 36.5 straight out from the centre is not 36.5 out from there. I'll get back to you. Alrighty, after thinking about this a bit more, I really wanted to put the 4 bolts out here to keep them away from the curve on the inside of this bracket, but I'm afraid my mathematics skills are not good enough to work that out to put them this way. So I will just take the easy way out of it, come out here, straight out from the centre, straight out, straight out, straight out, because that will give me exactly what I want, and do it that way. And then if I have to, I can clean up a small part of where that round is inside there to clear the motor. And I'll take a bit off the edge of the motor to make it fit. So that's what I'm going to do. Can't believe they've only got 4mm bolts in these things. It's a bit bloody ridiculous. According to the guff they give you, the damn thing weighs 4.5 kilograms, and they've got hanging off 4mm bolts. It's just crazy. It's madness. This damn light, it's just playing games with me. That's turned on at the moment. It'll come on, it'll go off, it'll come on and go off. Alrighty, so now I'll just put a bigger drill through that centre. 12mm hole in there. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is, because I can't use the rotary table to put some curved slots in now, I think I'll just drill a couple of bigger holes in here. Just allow it to suck some air through there, because it does stand off here a bit. But I'll work that out and I'll come back to you. Alrighty, so if I can't draw enough cooling air through those holes, there'll be something wrong. Alrighty, well, we didn't bloody know it. I went to fit all these up, went to put some M4 bolts in there. They just dropped in, and I thought, what's going on here? So I had a look, they're not M4, they're M5. But this damn thing, it's a bit hard to read, but I'm pretty sure that says 4mm there. But anyway, they're 5, so I re-drilled them to 5mm, and these three went in okay, and that one was just tiny little bit out, so I just had to file it out just a little bit to get it in. But they're all fitted in there nice, and I'm pretty sure we'll draw enough air through here to keep all this cool. So I think I'll just chop these corners off here and clean them up a bit on the belt centre, round it up, make it look a bit better. But that's that just about done. Just have to make up something on here for it to pivot off, and put an adjusting thread in here for the adjustment. Oops, something tells me I'm going to need a new barbecue / furnace. This one has just completely collapsed and the casing is all rusted away. Oh well, it's done me well. Well viewers, I've got to say, it's not one of the prettiest castings I've ever made. But hey, you get out what you put in, and I didn't put much time into making that the little foam form up for it. So it's what I get. I'm just considering myself lucky that I got that at all, considering that little barbecue just completely collapsed. The centre part where I sit the crucible, it all collapsed and it fell sideways. So lucky I only had barely enough in there to make that. So it's about, my crucible's that high, it only had that much in the bottom of it. Anyway, we'll get on with this. I'll bring you back later though, when I finish cleaning all this up. Alrighty, so while you weren't looking, I dressed all this up, and while I still had the solid tool post on, decided to plunge that into the depth it needed to be, because this thing, it doesn't really like plunge cutting, and as you can see by just there, it did try to tear it out once, and that's why the tailstock is sitting in there now. Don't really know how well this is going to go, but we'll play the suck it and see game. Well, I've got to say that actually went a whole lot better than I thought it might. I'm going to have to move this camera while I reset this, because the camera's in the way, so I'll bring it back. Well, that was lucky. I'm only just going to squeeze this in there and that's all, because the bed is almost as far forward as it'll go. Alright, see how we go. It's about 1 millimetre shy of where it needs to be. Well, I think I should dig a drive belt out of the cupboard to check that with. I probably should have got one out before I started. So I'll go find one of them and I'll come back. Well, I don't know what's become of all the belts I had hanging on the security drill there. They've all disappeared. I pull the belt off the lathe and try that. Fits in there nice. So I've just polished it up a bit. I'll do something about boring that out now. Well, I'm going to have some lunch first. I'll drill it out, bore it out a bit, and because there's a trace of a hole in there from the nail when I cut the foam round. When I centered it, it wanted to follow it. I had trouble getting the center in there. So I think I'll drill it, the smaller drill, and then bore it in as far as I can go, and then maybe push a drill up in there again after that. All right, I'll go and have some lunch, and we'll get into this after lunch. Oh, you're kidding. You idiot. Fuck, it's half a mil too big now. Oh, well, that's not where I've got to clamp it. I've got to clamp it out here, so... What an idiot. Oh, well, at least I've gotten rid of all the crap out of there now, so... God, I can't believe I just did that. A nice fit in there. Anyway, truly can't believe I bored that out too big. It was 8.5, and I'm thinking, yeah, got to take another. I'll take a mil out and then check it. So I took out a mil, not 3/4 of a mil. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is flip that around and set it up on that bolt, on that shaft I just had in there, and put the live center and machine the back end off of there a bit more. Alrighty, slight change of plans about how I'm going to hold it. Anyway, I'm going to put a nice little 3mm radius down in this corner here, and then I want to part it off just a bit. No, you don't. Now you know why that's in there. Oh, look at it go. That's in there to try and stop that. I'll come back to you later. Oh, pain in the arse that was. When I originally set it up, got it running nice and true, I actually took a skim across here so I could realign it if I had to. And I think that's actually moved a little bit again now, so I want to duck down the road, get some bolts for that motor. So when I come back, I'll throw the dial gauge back on that, make sure it's true. If it is, I'll face it off, just round that edge off a bit. I think I can live with that. Alrighty, well, this is actually another first for me. I've never made a pulley before. It's the first time I've made one, and that's come up pretty well. I'm fucking pissed off about that. Anyway, that's life. Might be able to get rid of them. There's two more things to do to this yet. I need to cut a keyway in it, but I bought a long series 4mm end mill, so I'm going to go down through here with an end mill first and then just clean it up. Alrighty, so I've set this up in here and I've lined it up with this 10mm pin. Get in the centre. Check this out. The longest 4mm end mill I've ever seen. Thought I'd have to chop a piece off, but I put it up in there before and marked it, and it's got this little blue mark here is sticking out far enough to get right through that. Well, once again, this is something I've never done but seen others doing. I normally sort of scratch a keyway in there in the lathe, and I may yet put it back in there to try and finish it off, but thought I'd have a go at this first, see how we go. Just hoping I don't break this damn cutter. So far so good. I don't want to take too big a cut, I don't want to break this thing. you might do that. I actually have to make a key for this because I don't have, well, they didn't supply one. I can't buy them. They don't seem to have them down the little engineering shop. The last time I tried to buy them, all I had was wood keys. Alright, we'll get that out of there, check that out, and next step will be to put a clamp screw in it. Alrighty, so now I've just got to do something about turning that round slot into a square slot. Actually, I'm just wondering if I could get away with not having to square that up at all. Should drive alright. We'll see how we go. Alrighty, so I've got away without having to square that up. So I'm happy about that. Saves me a bit of work. So all that's left to do this now is round those off a bit and make up something here for it to pivot off, and that part of it's done. Alrighty, so while you were looking, I pulled all that idler out of there and had a look at what I needed to do. I had to put an extended piece on here because it was all too low. But I'm definitely going to have to cut these corners off. See right here, it runs around there. So get a hole drilled and tapped in there for the adjuster. I won't get too much adjustment out of it because of the bolt in there. But anyway, there's a bit enough probably. I have to change this maybe if I need to drill another hole in there. Anyway, getting there. Been waiting for that to happen. It's been buggered for a while, but I've got a new blade over there. Alrighty, so there's the finished bracket. I ended up welding a one of these long M6 nuts onto the top there to use for the adjuster, so it'll come across the top of that bolt there. So I'll get this fitted up in there. Sorry about having to look at my back. I nearly caught myself out with this. When I had to change motors after the first one was deemed no longer available, I didn't check to see how long it is, and this thing just fits in there, and that's all. It clears the relief I've got built into the splash guard by about 2 millimeters, and that's all. Alrighty. Now, there is something I'm going to have to modify. I originally made this pulley to bolt on this way, but it's going to have to run this way. So, by the way, this is what I did to the key. I just rounded the edges off a bit. Alrighty, so when I look at it like this, I have got to take the thickness of this front section off the back to be able to move it in front. So I can't do it in here. I'll have to put it in the middle and mill the back edge off it. So I'll get into that and I'll get back to you. Alrighty, so while you weren't looking, I knocked 3 millimeters off the back of that, and with a stroke of good luck, this is the same belt that I was using before, so no need to buy a new belt. So now just got some wiring to do and we're ready to rock. At this point in the video, I'd once again like to thank my very generous viewer from Texas that's made all of this possible. And also, I haven't mentioned the generous viewer who stumped up the cash to pay for that big, thick 1-inch plate that I put on the bottom of the rotary table. Thank you very much to both of you. I'd also like to thank my usual patrons. If you'd like to become a patron, there's a link down in the description. You can join up there. Or you can use Buy Me a Coffee, which is how these two guys have sent me money. Or there's always that thanks button down there. Now, I've spent the morning wiring this thing up. I'm kind of hoping it's going to work. First go, we'll see. As I said, I've kept everything that was in there. This is all the wiring off the back of the forward and reverse switch for motor down in here. And I've just made up an extension lead, this one here, to run over to the speed controller for the speed controller and bring it out over here. And the original one is just tucked down in here. There it is there. This black cable here is the lead coming over from the motor, and I've just jumped that to give me the crossover in the DP-DT switch. And if you've never wired anything like this up before, I'll put up an image now so you can have a look, see how it's done. I'll just leave it there for a moment and you can take a screenshot of it. Now these two wires here, they come from the rectifier, from the DC side of that, and the AC that runs this has come from over down in the box down here, so that when I turn the switch on down, they've got to turn on the emergency stop button and then turn on this switch down here. We'll activate all of that up there. The AC comes out of there into the rectifier, DC comes across to the DP-DT switch, and then from there back across to the motor. So we'll go and plug this in and turn it on, see what happens. Alrighty, on and let's go. It's 1282 RPM, but it could do with some lower gearing, because flat out is like way too fast. 3200 RPM. But that's a winner. Well, I reckon that's just about got it covered. I suppose you'd like to see me make a cut with it, so I'll have a little clean up and then we'll finish off with that. Alrighty, I was just having some lunch and did some few calculations. I might make another pulley. That one I just made is 50mm. If I go down to 35mm, it'll wash 1000 RPM off the top end, and it should reduce the bottom end a bit for me, because at the moment this is a bit high for what I want. But down around there I can just about stop that with my hand, so it's got no grunt, and I'd rather have a bit of grunt down low, so I think I'll do that. The other thing I'm not overly liking with this is how far I have to turn this before it starts. Look at this, look, from there all the way up to there before it kicks in. So it's about a third of the dial, and then it's not very far before you're up around the sort of speed you want to be at. Anyway, well, I'd have to say that old mate hasn't got much to complain about anymore. The finish on there, beautiful. Did you notice that I wasn't getting much variation in the speed? With the old washing machine motor, it used to pulse just a little bit. But no, I'm pretty happy with that. And if you like this video, how about giving it a great big thumbs up and smashing that like button. And I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.